Okay, I'm going to continue my commentary on this book right here. And we're going to try to weave you through a maze of who ruled what and when. Okay, now, we have to start with Julius Caesar. Okay, Julius Caesar ruled Rome. He was then murdered. And the office that he held was then taken over by Caesar Augustus. Now then, we then have Herod the Great. Okay, Herod the Great was the king of Judea. Now here's the problem. Herod the Great tried to also be the high priest. That didn't go over too well because he could not prove his proper lineage to be a high priest. Therefore, he started appointing priests. And if he didn't like those priests, he'd not only depose them, but he'd actually have them killed. That created a problem. Now then, Herod the Great actually had a son. Archelaus. I would imagine that's Archelaus, okay? That was Herod's oldest son. Now, Herod wanted his oldest son to take over for him when Herod died. Here's the problem. Caesar Augustus didn't like that idea. Okay, so what he said was, okay, we'll let you rule over Judea, but we're going to give Galilee to somebody else. And that somebody else ended up being Herod Antipas. All right. Well, anyway, after a while, this son was deposed. This son only reigned for 10 years, and then he was deposed. And then, what Caesar Augustus did was he talked to the governor of Syria, and he says, all right, he says, what we're going to do is we're going to send Pontius Pilate. And we're going to have Pontius Pilate rule over the high priests in the temple of Jerusalem. Now, the high priest was Caiaphas. Okay? Now, so that meant Pontius Pilate ruled over Caiaphas, and then Caiaphas ruled over the people. Why was this so? Because, unlike other nations that were occupied by Rome, Judea, or Israel, okay, the whole nation of the Israelites would not accept the Roman pagan gods. So they wanted to rule over themselves. They didn't want the Romans ruling over them. They wanted to be ruled by God. And that created a lot of problems. Okay? And so, what Pontius Pilate did is, all right, I'll rule over you, and you rule over your people. That way we can calm everything down. And they did for a while. After a while, that didn't work out too well either. Okay, so now you're sitting there, well, boy, what a lot of confusion there. But why do we have to know all this stuff? Well, do you remember the trial of Jesus? Jesus was first tried by Caiaphas. Then he was sent to Pilate. Pilate then sent him to Antipas, and Antipas sent him back to Pilate. Why was this done that way? Because Jesus was charged with the crime of blasphemy. Okay? Of course, Jesus did not commit blasphemy, but he was charged with it. That meant that Caiaphas had to try him. Well, Caiaphas, because he was ruled by Pilate, did not have the power to kill Jesus. So then Caiaphas went to Pilate and tried to convince him to kill Jesus. Well, Pilate says, well, Jesus has come into this town and has so-called committed this crime, but the thing is, Jesus is from Galilee, because Nazareth is in Galilee. Even though Bethlehem is in Judea, Nazareth is in Galilee, so he was a Nazarene. So therefore, the trial had to be held with Herod Antipas instead of with Pontius Pilate. So he ended up getting shipped to Antipas. Well, Antipas says, well, the crime was actually committed in Judea, so now the trial has to be shipped back to Judea, which did make Pilate happy. So, you see, just because Jesus was well known in Judea and had relatives in Bethlehem, he was still a resident of Nazareth. So he was really under the rule of Antipas and not under the rule of Pilate. That's what made things very confusing. So that's why Jesus was bounced back and forth all the way around before he was killed. That's why you need to know stuff like this. Anyway, I'm going to continue my commentary in the next video. Stay tuned.